so please excuse the camera. Oh, God. I don't know how you managed to do this at 6'2". 5'7" was a bit of a nightmare for me trying to get in and out of this thing. Hello and welcome to today's episode of Beyond the Pedal. Today you join me at Donington Park Circuit with Javelin Track Days for their track day event. As you can hear with the cars flying around the track and enjoying some good quality track time here at Donington Park. Today I'm here with the Army Sports Car Racing team to talk about their car, the SunVit-D3 Army Holden, a really special racing car, and it's going to be great because I'm going to get to talk to some of the drivers, Will and Matty. They're going to be talking about what it takes to build one of these cars, funding one of these cars, and the reality of getting into sort of motor racing. It's going to be a really special day. I'm really looking forward to chatting with the guys, taking a good look around the car. Let's listen to some of those cars fly around the track. Today is set to be a really good episode, I think anyway. Hopefully you agree. Anyway guys, enjoy the episode. Let's get to it.
Hi guys, Sergeant Will Ashmore here with Army Sports Car Racing, and we are doing some pre-season testing today with the SunVit-D3 Army Holden that I'm going to show you around.
Hi Will, so thanks for having us today. This car looks absolutely incredible, but we'd really like to know a little bit more about the car, you know, a bit of a history about it.
Yeah, sure. So we call it a Holden Commodore. Technically it's a Chevy Lumina. You might know it in the UK as a Vauxhall VXR8. And this is an ex-Bahrain WGA supercar. So these cars were built as a one-make series. They raced out in the Middle East in Bahrain. They supported the Formula One around 2010. That championship eventually closed down, and the whole championship was brought back to the UK, where they tried to start up a bit of a V8 series, but never really took off. So the cars got sold off separately, and I was lucky enough to pick this one up.
Incredible. Well, that sounds like quite a fair bit of history. So I think really what we want to know is, what we really want to see is what it really takes to build a race car. So let's have a look at that.
Okay, so we'll start at the front of the car, and obviously under the bonnet is the heart of the car itself. We've got the big 6.2 litre LS3 V8 running about 475 horsepower with equal amounts of foot-pound of torque. We keep the engine stock for reliability reasons, and also just to maintain that power limit. We're limited by power and weight to make the class of the championship that we race in, so we have to match those regulations. Mated to the engine, we've got a BMW 7-speed Dct Gearbox. This used to run an old school NASCAR dog box, 4-speed dog box. Very agricultural, quite slow, and we had a lot of issues with that last year, so we decided to get rid of it. And that's why we're here today, testing the car to get this new gearbox tuned in. Nice.
So what are the features that can we see around the engine? Talk us around the engine,
sure.
what we've got that's not standard, if you will.
Yeah. So I mean, this is a thoroughbred race car. It was never a road car that was converted. It was built purely, as I said before, as a race car to race in Bahrain. So as you can see, the whole car was stripped down to bare metal essentially, and a really strong roll cage and various strengthening points were put into the car. So we've got these strengthening struts here that tie back into the roll cage at the back end of the car. Cooling, with such a big engine and such a big car, cooling is a major issue, especially with endurance racing. Like that's going to be your biggest battle, is keeping everything cool, including the brakes and everything else. So we've got a really big PWR radiator, which is the same brand of radiator that the Formula One cars use. Two massive oil coolers, one for the engine, one for the gearbox. Otherwise, a few breathing mods because it's a big engine. This engine is essentially a big air pump, so it does pump out a lot of its own air through crankcase pressure. So we've had to put these massive AN fittings on the back of the engine just to release all of the extra pressure that we're generating due to high RPM conditions.
So a serious bit of kit then, some would say.
Yeah, and there's just always a lot to think about, and you're always tweaking things and making things more reliable, really.
Brilliant. So Will, we've talked about what makes it shift. Now let's talk about what makes it kind of stop.
Cool, well, I mean, this is no lightweight car, and every good race car doesn't weigh very much. Unfortunately, we weigh over 1,600 kilos minimum weight, which is pretty serious, so we need some serious rubber, some serious brakes to slow us down and keep us on the blacktop. So we're running performance friction front and rear calipers with performance friction fully floating discs. We're on 380mm front discs and 355mm rear discs. The front pads are 31mm thick each, monstrous pads made for endurance racing. The gear seats. The brakes never go off, they never let us down, and that's really key. We run the Nankang AR1 tyre, another one of our good sponsors. We're on a 275 wide tyre, and again we can hammer on these tyres for 2 hours straight and they never let go, which is really key for endurance racing.
Yeah, I suppose grip and good braking is definitely, it's all well and good having the horsepower, but if you can't stop the car, there's no point, is there?
And actually, although she weighs a lot, we brake as hard as anyone else on the circuit, so it's really useful.
Amazing. So we've seen the engine, we've seen what's going to make it stop. Maybe you could take us inside.
Yeah, take you into the office.
Absolutely.
Come on in, come on in. So as I said before, we've been out all day testing, tuning the new gearbox, and we've got Will here from Race Dyno tuning on the laptop. We've been squaring everything away for us today. Bit of a tough day, but we've got there in the end, and it's a whole new setup. This is like version 2 of this car for us. So yeah, we've been working our way through it, and we finally got there at the end, but then we got kicked off last minute for noise. There you go, she's a bit loud.
The car has sounded incredible going round. I mean, this looks seriously confusing. What are we looking at here?
So what we've got is obviously a digital dash which links into the ECU and the gearbox. We get all of the data we need. So obviously fuel quantity is key as we're on endurance racing. We have to fuel the car up during the pit stops. Gearbox temperature is key. It's a very complicated gearbox. Wet clutches that generate a lot of heat, so you just have to maintain that. Oil pressure, that's the life of your engine, and water temperature as well. So we're keeping all the temps as low as possible. As well as that, we've got what gear we're currently in, what lap we're on, what speed we're doing. We've got our predicted lap time, our best lap time of the session, and our delta compared to that best lap, so we can see if we're going faster or slower than that best lap. We also have the time of day, because sometimes you like to know what time it is because you're out there for a long time.
Absolutely.
And I've just programmed a countdown timer, so we do 2 and 3 hour races, and it's just nice to have a little timer so you know how long you've got left in the race.
Awesome. So looking at that steering wheel, that also looks rather a lot of blips and dials and buttons. What are we dealing with?
Yeah, this was a bit of a DIY job by me, but it's come out quite nice. Basically, when you're racing, you don't want to be reaching to the centre console for buttons and switches. You don't want to be taking your eyes off the windscreen and looking forward or in your mirrors. So everything is there at the reach of my thumbs, essentially. So we've got wipers, lights. I've got a pit limiter, although that's not functional at the moment. We've set our lap timing beacon from the wheel. We've got pages, so I can flick pages on the screen. Comms are key, so we have a full radio setup that comes back to the pits, to the guys. So we've got a comm switch there, and then the classic wiper there for
nice.
if it gets a bit wet.
Brilliant. So, Will, with these sort of things, I'm assuming safety's no joke in racing, of course.
Yeah.
So what most of us have airbags and a decent sort of chassis within a car, but what makes a race car when it comes to safety? Yeah, so there's certain safety regulations we have to meet when we build race cars. One of them, as you can see, is a real stout roll cage. This is essentially a monkey frame, if you like, that runs through the whole car. We showed you at the front, it's all tied together. That not only increases structural rigidity of the car and the chassis, but it's a massive safety from a crash perspective. So we've got side impact bars, you've got the front impact, the rollover bars as well. We're essentially inside a cage that keeps us safe. As well as that, we have to have a fully approved racing seat, which keeps you locked in place, but it also stops your head snapping around. We wear a frontal head restraint system, which is tied into your helmet, so it stops your head snapping forward on a frontal impact. We have to run a 6-point racing harness. So yeah, loads of fun to try and put on when you're doing driver changes and you've got gloves on, but that all ties in. We also have a fire suppression system just down by Will's feet, which will spray the engine bay and the driver in a highly toxic gas. So you take a deep breath before you let it off, and you let it put the fire out, and then you get out the car as quick as you can. I've actually been in a car that's been on fire before, and it's not a nice place to be. I think, oh yeah, no, we've done that. You've also got like battery cut-off isolators, so
all of these buttons for the fire suppression system have to be accessible outside the car as well. And that's so the marshals, if you're knocked out or unconscious for whatever reason, the marshals can cut the car and set the fire off straight away.
Brilliant. Well, it looks like a bit of a nightmare getting in and out of this car, so I think I might have to have a quick go myself.
Yeah, go for it.
So Will here is 6'2", I'm 5'7" on a good day, and I'm just going to have a little go at sitting in this ridiculous car. So please excuse the camera. Oh, God! I don't know how you managed to do this at 6'2". 5'7" was a bit of a nightmare for me trying to get in and out of this thing.
Should have put a helmet on,
yeah, and then a helmet as well. Wow, it is incredible inside this car, as you can see. Here's the view. There's our guys there, but yeah, it's very, very impressive, very snug. I feel safe. Interesting. Okay, so obviously working from the front, we've got an engine, tyres, we've got an inside, but I can't see a fuel tank. So you're gonna have to tell us how on earth how do we fuel this car with the amount of fuel that you go through as well?
Yeah, so I mean, clearly having a very high capacity V8 engine, she drinks a lot of fuel. And in the boot, we have a 120 litre fuel cell. And again, this is another safety item for the car. So the fuel cell is a fully foam filled tank. It's fully sealed, and when we're refueling, we have to use dry brake fittings that are FIA approved. We can't just do your normal sort of jump, jump right into the car. Any spillage of fuel is not allowed for obvious reasons. There's a lot of heat around the car. Even if the fuel was to hit the brakes, which was like 700 degrees, it could just ignite. So yeah, and within there we have our fuel pressure regulator system, the fuel sender that gives us the data to the dash, and you have to have a rollover valve as well, so if the car rolls over, the fuel's not just going to spill out the tank, it's all sealed off.
Brilliant. So what will you go through, as in like miles per gallon? Are we talking? Yeah. I'm assuming we're not getting 25 miles to the gallon out of this thing.
Talking low single figures. We burn about 1.4 litres a minute.
Jeez, 1.4 litres a minute. My goodness, that's pretty insane. So, how much fuel can you go through for a weekend?
For a race is about 200 litres.
Wow.
Which is getting expensive these days.
Yes, it is. Unbelievable. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. So Will, the keen-eyed amongst us will notice at the back of that car there was no exhaust. So maybe you could tell us a bit more about the exhaust on these cars.
Yeah, man. I mean, the exhaust is one of my favourite parts of this car, because you've got the V8 noise, of course. It's a twin 3-inch system that goes through an X-pipe and then it exits out the sides, proper V8 supercar style. So that's 2 3-inch pipes all the way through. If you're watching the car a lot, she does lick a few flames. And now we've got this new gearbox in and working thanks to Will at Race Diamond Tuning. We should have some really nice shift cuts and blips, which should make some good noises. Yeah. A few pops and bangs, all that good stuff. Brilliant.
Yeah, that side mounted exhaust just looks really incredible. It just tidies the car off nicely, and I suppose when you've got those flames popping out, it's a good PR and photo opportunities for the team.
That's the thing, is getting the cameraman to catch those flames.
Just need a good cameraman, I suppose.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for showing us around the SunVit-D3 Army Holden, I believe it is. And thank you so much for Will. This car just looks absolutely incredible. Brilliant. Thanks a lot, Will. Cheers.
Guys, thank you.
Taylor, currently an Army Reserve within the Remy. I'm recently retired out of regular service, but I've been racing for the Army sports car team for over 5 years.
Hi Matty, thank you so much for having us. So I think, some of the key questions that people have got regarding racing and the Army racing is funding. Like, how much does it cost to run one of these cars in the category that you're in?
So a lot of money is about the gist of it. I'm currently racing in the highest class of club racing, which is Class A within Club Enduro Championship. I would say for the season, running cost is about £26,000 total, which is split between me and Will, the other driver. We do get assistance from the Army sports team. Some of this funding comes from the Army Sports Lottery and through Army Sports Control Board, but to be completely honest, it's a tiny amount compared to what we spent.
Fantastic. Okay, maybe you could, obviously you say you're in Class A. What are we looking at for like fuel and tyres?
So Class A, we race under 300 brake horsepower per tonne. Fuel is extremely expensive. We actually use 1.3 litres a minute, and we do 2 to 3 hour long races with 30 to 40 minute qualifying times. Tyres themselves, we'll go through one set of tyres a race, and they are about 700, 800 pounds a set.
That's incredible. So a Class A car like the SunVit Army Holden, what will that kind of, what's the initial inlay, the cost of that?
So I think the car originally cost about £25,000 to buy, and since then we have changed the engine, changed the suspension, changed the gearbox, we've lightened it, we've changed the doors, and we've done numerous amounts of things. Some of it costing a lot of money, some of it we've managed to neutralise the money by selling parts, but yeah, it's a lot of money.
And perhaps you can tell everyone a little bit about the Armed Forces Race Challenge?
Yeah, so the Armed Forces Race Challenge is our lowest tier racing. Basically, it's where we started. It's a tri-service event, Army, Navy, RAF, racing against each other with some civilians joining in. It's sprint racing, so 20-minute long racing, slightly more gentlemanly, shall we say, and not quite as aggressive, and you can run down in quite lower classes. So a Class D car where you could probably get on the grid and race for £5,000–6,000 a year, that kind of amount.
So there is affordable racing through the Armed Forces Racing Challenge?
There is affordable racing.
To a degree.
within reason, I always say to everyone, you have to stop partying quite as hard to be able to come racing.
Excellent. And so where can we find more information, or what races will we find the SunVit Army Holden car in?
So we race in 750 Motor Club Club Enduro Championship. You'll be able to find their website and Facebook pages easily, but we race for the Army Sports Car Racing Team. And you'll find them on Facebook as your easiest way.
Awesome. Matt, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we're really looking forward to seeing more of the car. Thank you.
Now, what's really cool about some of these track days is the cars that people bring down. Behind me is a Lotus 311, and this thing has been absolutely flying around the track today. It makes such an impressive sound, and it's been kind of to let me have a little walk around and walk through, talk through, and show you around the car. Let's have a little look at this thing.
Look at this. It's just an incredible looking car. No roof. Let's take a look at the inside. Look at the inside of that car. Incredible setup. Look at that. The sort of digital sort of dialogue there. Absolutely beautiful. And there's our car in the back when they're just coming in. Let's take a look around the front of this car. Oh, that is absolutely stunning. The lines, all of it. What a beautiful, beautiful car.
Just seriously, I don't think there's a bad angle of this car. It just looks incredible. So yeah, Lotus 311, really great to see that around the track. Beautiful. Concludes today's episode of Beyond the Pedal. It's been such an awesome day here at Donington Park Circuit. I love coming to this place and just getting to learn more about the SunVit-D3 Army Holden car has been awesome. Getting to meet Will and Matt and talking about the car, talking about racing and the real cost of racing, has been such a great opportunity and really good bit of knowledge, really, you know, for those of you who are thinking about getting involved in racing. Once again, I just want to say a huge thank you to all the guys here at the Army Sports Car Racing Team and Army Motorsports itself. If you want to learn more about Army Motorsports, how you can get involved during the force yourself, or you're a veteran and you want to learn more, head over to the Army Motorsports page. Hopefully there's a little video right now of me clicking through the Army Motorsports page, and you can see how that is working out. So once again, a huge thank you to the guys here for taking time to show us around the car. I intend to do a lot more work with these guys in the future, coming to some of the races and talking about the Armed Forces Racing Challenge. That's going to be really good, and we're going to get plenty of footage of that as well. As always, guys, from myself, please make sure you follow the page at Beyond the Pedal on Instagram, the YouTube channel, like, subscribe, the usual YouTube jargon, and of course, don't forget you can grab yourself some Beyond the Pedal merch. Head yourself over to www.beyondthepedal.co.uk, grab yourself some merch while it's going like hotcakes, as it were. Anyway, guys, once again, huge thank you to the guys here. It's been great here to meet everyone at Javelin Track Days, and of course, as always, it's great to spend some time here down at Donington Park Circuit. Anyway, that's enough from me yammering away. Huge thank you once again. You know the routine, guys. Signing off for now. Play the outro. See you on the next one.